And now joining me is the current district attorney for New Mexico's 3rd Judicial District, Gerald Byers. District Attorney Byers, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So first question, tell us about yourself and your qualifications to serve as the district attorney in Doña County.
Excellent question. As you noted, I'm the incumbent district attorney elected in 2020. I've been a prosecutor for going on 27 years this coming July. I've prosecuted in Texas and in New Mexico. I've prosecuted a death penalty case, one of them which was resolved by a guilty plea, the murder of Marissa Matthew Zeifler in the Sunshine Theater in 2003. That brought about Marissa's Law, which made great changes to sex offender registration and things of that nature. I've prosecuted in Texas and in New Mexico, and doing so along the border, prosecuting everything from shoplifting to homicide. Prior to that, I graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy, served on active duty as a naval officer, East Med, deployment to Beirut.
I see. So what sort of reform in New Mexico's criminal justice system would you like to see?
I'd like to see an improvement on how our current bail reform process is conducted. Frankly, the way it is being done right now, there are a lot of situations where the intent, the original intent, which was noble, which is that people should not be languishing in jail pending trial just because they can't pay a cash bond. I agree with that. But unfortunately, the way the rules are written and the way the rules are interpreted, a lot of times individuals who are patently dangerous and then they go out and commit more crimes while they're out on conditions of release. That is happening way too frequently, victimizing way too many members of the public, and frankly, the public that I've heard from, they're outraged by it. So I think that there's room for improvement on that.
And District Attorney, what do you think of using harm reduction as a way to deal with nonviolent offenses such as low-level drug possession?
Good, excellent question. There are some things that the criminal justice system is not particularly suited to address. In other words, oftentimes you'll hear the phrase, the police can't arrest their way out of a problem. Well, the criminal justice system can't necessarily prosecute its way out of a problem either, especially if the problem has its origins in societal issues such as addiction, or emotional problems, or mental health issues. And so in those situations, it's important for the system to have the flexibility to consider other options than incarceration for resolution for a problem. For example, a person can be diverted to a program of treatment and counseling and medical intervention if they have a substance abuse problem, or they can receive batterers intervention programs for domestic violence situations, things of that nature. Those can have a tendency to have a long-lasting positive impact on people who at the current time we just see as numbers or criminal defendants.
I see. And District Attorney, how would you improve How have you improved collaboration between your office and local law enforcement?
Excellent question. We regularly meet with the law enforcement partners associated with criminal justice in our jurisdiction. And I'll give you an example. We have recently met with Chief Jeremy Story, the leader of Las Cruces Police Department, and his command staff on the issues of recidivist offenses, particularly those that are plaguing the local businesses, and issues involving competency, because that creates a lot of repetitive issues, not to mention the retail crime. And so we have open lines of communication. We identify those folks who are essentially crime generators in our district, and we take steps to try to mitigate that.
Mm. And so explain how you handle fatal use of force incidents involving law enforcement within your office. Could you go into that a little bit?
Yes, I can. They're essentially called officer-involved incidents or officer-involved shootings. As the district attorney, I'm the one who makes the determination as to whether or not the officer who used deadly force should be charged with a crime or should not. We recently reviewed a situation in which LCPD former officer Felipe Hernandez shot and killed Teresa Gomez. After a review of the officer-involved incident task force's information and their investigation, I made the determination that charging him with second-degree murder was definitely appropriate. I can also tell you that there's not another single candidate in this race that has that experience or that has ever even done that. Officer use of force is a very critical aspect of policing and social justice, and if you'll recall, back in June of last year, I penned an opinion piece that was printed in the local newspaper explaining to folks what the historical view of the authority of police officers in the use of deadly force is, to try to get information out there so people would have a better understanding of the extent of authority that officers have whenever they are going out to protect the public, because the officers are using the authority and authorization that has been provided to them by us, the members of the public.
I see. So moving on, what do you feel needs to be done to address the backlog of cases in our court system right now?
I can tell you that before the case management rule, which was implemented in June of last year, there was a backlog of cases. That backlog of cases came from a number of sources. One of them primarily was being the coronavirus, which hit this district as well as all of the rest of them throughout the state, and the New Mexico Supreme Court issued rules and regulations that severely restricted the ability of courts to hold trials, but they still had to keep the courts open, so it was a very delicate balance. And so that added to the case backlog. The case management rule, by its mere structure, essentially requires the elimination, shall I say, of a number of cases that were backed up in the pipeline system, as if you will. When the case management rule became effective in this district, 550 cases were dismissed overnight. That was not by a willful choice of mine. As a matter of fact, we had to go back and re-indict at least 330 of them. But that was a determination that was made by the court to effectuate and implement the Supreme Court's implementation of the case management rule. It sets timelines which are very, very strict and very tight, and one of the primary functions of the case management rule, according to the information we got from the Supreme Court, is that its purpose is to make prosecution more efficient.
I see. And so moving on, and this is a big question, how do you navigate competency and pretrial detention laws in order to keep dangerous individuals off of the street?
Excellent question. Two parts, two different tracks, pretrial detention and competency. I'll address pretrial detention first. Although the rule provides that the state can file a motion to detain a person pretrial and present only affidavits, the obligation on the state in this district has been that not only do we provide affidavits, but we also provide live testimony from witnesses. We do that. We present pretrial detention motions every day on individuals who we believe are a danger to either themselves, the community, or a particular victim in a case. And that is something that we have been fastidious about. And I can tell you that there are a number of individuals who we have filed pretrial detention motions on. Our motions to keep that person detained have been denied, and then the person goes out and commits more crimes. As far as competency is concerned, competency, the root issue of competency, or the problem for the solution, is that there are no resources in the state of New Mexico. We only have one place, Las Vegas, New Mexico, the Behavioral Health Hospital. That is the only place that under the system a person can be ordered to. Well, we need more infrastructure. We need more doctors. We need more facilities. And that is not something that I, as the district attorney, or any district attorney, can resolve. We don't have that power. The courts cannot resolve it. They don't have that power. So what the best thing that we can do is abide by the rules of procedure that the courts provide, which allows a determination of competence or incompetence. And if the person is able to be treated back to competency, we pursue that. If the person is not dangerous, then the case gets dismissed.
I see. And so, just as my last question, District Attorney, what sets you apart from your opponents, and what is your appeal to voters as we move forward toward the June primary?
What sets me apart is I'm a prosecutor, not a politician. I'm not doing this because I need a job someplace else, because I lost my prior job. I'm not doing this because I'm a defense attorney and I wanted to do something else. No, I have been doing this and sacrificing for the people of the state of New Mexico for going on 27 years as a prosecutor. I'm committed to it and have been committed to it. And I have done every type of case that there is and supervised attorneys and managed attorneys in many different offices throughout this state. And one of the things that people need right now is the assurance that the person who's at the helm of the prosecution office knows what they're doing. This is not something that you learn OJT. This is something that you have to have the background and experience for. You don't want a rookie doing your brain surgery. So that's why I'm the best candidate for this job.
I see. Well, thanks so much for being here. Gerald Byers is the District Attorney for New Mexico's 3rd Judicial District. I appreciate you coming in and giving us the time today.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with more candidate interviews on the way, so stick with us.